Caliente.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back from the weekend and from Monday night doubleheader. We had another one of those next week too. Hopefully it's as great as yesterday was and has equally as few injuries as what an insane night. We're going to talk about all of it, and we're going to take a first look at week 3. We got a 54-point total game on this slate between two winless teams, no less. Get into that, go position by position here, break it all down. It's my favorite show of the week because we get to set the foundation. We get to figure things out right here as we're doing this show. I'm Dave Loughran at Lafayette_D on the X. Follow your boy. And while you're there, say hi to Ben Rasa at JazzRaz DFS. Jack of all trades, master of many. At least that's what he tells me to call him before we start. Sometimes I forget, and he just
right in the run sheet.
What's that?
Bro, I said I put it right in the run sheet. Make
How
sure you
feeling,
don't.
Dude?
Feeling all right. I'm all tired because, when you start two games 45 minutes apart, you figure they'll end not 3 hours apart, but such is life. Yeah, I'm all right. It was a weird 2-game slate for me last night. A lot of good, a lot of bad, all wrapped into one.
I'll say I broke even yesterday, and I was fortunate for that after not having a lot of not having a lot of Jerome Ford, Tony Jones, and guys like it. I mean, look. If you had them and you played the injury angle, awesome.
Yeah, I had them.
There you go, which is great. I didn't play the injury angle. I was hoping that these guys wouldn't get hurt. I had over 17.5 carries on Nick Chubb. He had 10 in the first quarter, by the way. That was a smash. I went back, though. I went Steelers money line. I went back to the Steelers money line. I liked them yesterday. I don't believe in Deshaun Watson right now.
So I don't understand. Well, So for my night, I was the complete opposite. I had an objectively really good 2-game, but I thought there was a window there where I was going to take it all down.
What happened?
You know what happened? The Steelers defense happened. So
yeah, dude, they're no joke. They're still.
I know they're no joke, but there was a point, particularly in small fields, where I was legitimately up by a couple points, and the people chasing me had Nick Chubb and the Steelers defense, and I had Watson, Ford, Njoku, Pickens.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't hold them off when they had literally a defense versus 4 players. And that really hurt badly.
You still have a good night, though?
I had a good night. I just
could have been amazing.
It could have been amazing, but it should have been in the middle of both of those. Right. If Watson throws a touchdown to Njoku, serious stuff. But if he doesn't get sacked 8 times and fumble for a touchdown, it would have been way better because I just luck boxed onto Ford. I had him on one team, and it just happened to have Pickens and Olave and the right combination around him. But
did you see the one play in that Pittsburgh and Cleveland game that I had tweeted it? It looked like
scrum.
It looked like the Little Giants, the movie, where it was fumble, recovery, fumble, recovered. Fumble again, almost recovered, then just batted up in the air, came back down, out of bounds. That game was kind of fun. I went to sleep with 5 minutes left. I was done. It was over at that point. It was 11:40 and that game was still going or something like that. Ridiculous.
So late.
Which is, dude, I looked down at my watch I looked down at my watch and I saw that it was 10:15. And I looked up at the game and I saw it said second. And I was like, that can't be right. It was 25 seconds in the second. It's that must be wrong. There's no way we're still in the second quarter 2 hours later. So it's crazy. And I will say too, I love Nick Chubb. That was awful. It looked awful. His leg bent the way a leg should bend like this, except it did that sideways.
Sometimes. I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is just hear this out. I feel like sometimes when it looks extremely gruesome,
it's not as bad.
It's not it's obviously bad.
What do you think? It's an MCL strain or something?
I don't know. I'm hoping that it's one of those situations where it's just all right, he's out for 6 months and then he'll just be back and better than ever.
You hope so, because he's a fantastic player. And he was the man. He looked great. I'm crushing 17 and a half carries if he doesn't get hurt.
Oh yeah.
He was pacing 40.
It was that was a weird game. I also I will say for all my complaining, and it's true, I did run objectively horrible in that game. I also bet Carolina and I backdoored that. So fortunate.
You backdoored a push, or did you get him at 3.5?
So I did backdoor a push, but for pick'em pools, it locked at 3.5, and they were. I mean, it's week 2, so you can't be crucial, but that was a nice win.
Yeah, the home dog, rookie. They definitely backdoored it, but you'll take it no matter what.
Super useful.
A couple of other things, guys. And by the way, very happy that all you were joining us today. Let me know too in the chat. If you had to walk away with, let's say, one distinct thought after week 1, and don't let recency bias creep in and everyone has their thought from last night's games. Although I wouldn't blame you after watching Cleveland and Pittsburgh. One thing that you take with you, there's much, but one thing that after week 2 you take with you and you go, that was crazy, I didn't expect it, or just, wow, this team is different than I thought, or this player is different than I thought. I'll tell. And by the way, hit that thumbs up, guys, if you haven't done so yet. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment down below if you're listening or watching after the fact. I thoroughly enjoy reading these comments and going back and forth. We can do that on Twitter, the X, but in the comments too. And never forget, all of our stuff is in podcast form. Right, this will be in podcast form if you wanted to listen there. Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever it is, any weird, obscure, archaic podcast platform you listen to. And Ben and I will be doing our typical Tuesday podcast exclusive episode that you guys have given us some very warm feedback on. It's a single entry and 3 max conversation. Straight strategy, single entry and 3 max. We keep it under 30 minutes. We get in, we get out. I know how many of you love these type of shows when it comes to getting into single entry 3 max because no one else talks about it. We got you only on podcast though. So check it out if you haven't yet. All right. So Ben, my biggest takeaway, and there's so many, okay? Like there's so many takeaways. And this is not a homer take. This is maybe we figured out what's going on in Philly. Cause I said on Thursday night, I really don't know. Could be Boston Scott. It could be a 3-headed monster. It could be completely Swift. Gainwell was out. Boston Scott got hurt. Who knows what that would have looked like had he not gotten hurt. You probably never see Penny, and Scott probably gets 9 or 10 touches. DeAndre Swift running behind that line, decisive, explosive, creative, patient. That was some of the best running I've seen from a Philadelphia running back in a while. It's better, honestly, than any Miles Sanders game I've ever seen. I would say you go back to LaShawn McCoy, to where you saw some amazing runs like that. I went back and watched all of these runs, and I like even the 10, 12-yard runs where he regains balance, cuts on a dime. DeAndre Swift should, without a shadow of a doubt, and you know how I feel about Gainwell, most uninspiring player out there. He's fine, but he's totally uninspiring. DeAndre Swift at this point, as much as I love Penny, RIP, brother, needs to be the bulk of the carries, workhorse back. I'm not saying you don't spell guys, but behind that line, what he displayed last week, even though you could say Pittsburgh or Minnesota was trying to take the long ball away, he should be the guy. I saw one game, that's all I needed to see, and know that he should be the guy in Philly.
Yeah, I mean, I've always been a Swift fan. I think he's a great player. We said that for Detroit for a while. It's good to see him do that. A couple for me. One certainly wasn't helpful, but clearly this dude on the Rams,
Kyren Williams, man, crazy.
Him and of course Nacua.
Oh, you're talking about Puka Nacua. Sorry, I thought you were talking about the backfield with Cam.
No,
Akers.
with Akers, that was just a weird situation. But
yeah, Puka Nacua is crazy.
Until he just gets killed by volume, I mean, it's ridiculous. I did not see that coming. I thought that was a fluke in 1 week. It certainly wasn't. And against San Francisco, that was very impressive. And then my other one are just two teams that don't know what they're doing. The Bears, I don't understand what they're doing with Justin Fields. He did not look good. He's taken 10 sacks, 3 picks.
That's bad, dude. That is bad. Yeah.
What are you doing, though? Why
do you realize, as bad as
carries?
The line is, I know, I'm with you. As bad as that line has been, he's holding the ball way too long.
Not decisive at all, but I don't understand what you got to let him go. You have to use that to your advantage because you have a guy that can do that. And then, of course, I don't know why I'm surprised by this. I shouldn't be. The Broncos are just a disgrace. And if there was relegation, they should be relegated. They've now lost 2 games at home. Sean Payton looks like a moron. Because I ripped Hackett, but I'm not an NFL coach. Now he is, and he looks just as dysfunctional with that team. I don't know what they're doing.
And Wilson had a 300-yard game too. I couldn't tell you either.
Bad.
How does the defense collapse? That's what I want to know. They were a stalwart all season long, and then they collapsed. Somebody had mentioned that where was this? Adam Baumother said, goes to show how bad Miles Sanders is. It's not, though. Sanders averaged over 5 yards per carry as a Philadelphia Eagle over 4 years. He was never bad. It's just DeAndre Swift looked really good. And Sanders, unless Sanders is getting volume, Chuba Hubbard got that 2-minute drill where Chuba Hubbard, did you see this? He was not involved all game at all, completely uninvolved all game. It was entirely Miles Sanders' backfield until they went on that 2-minute drill drive and scored that touchdown, and Hubbard was in there for basically every snap. Yeah, I don't love that if you have Miles Sanders.
No. Listen, Carolina's got issues. There's no doubt about it, but I don't like there's a bunch of teams that look like they have problems, but I don't think it's as like the Jets, Carolina. They just have, but the Broncos are in a whole different level of dysfunctional, but it's only 2 weeks. The Cowboys, the Niners, those teams look real good, but we'll see. Someone's going to go down there. Before we talk about week 3, my last thing, and then I want to get into this. Did you see the spreads this week? Big spreads.
What's that?
Big, like there's 2, 3, 4 games that are like 13-point spreads.
Yeah, I believe Cowboys was 12.5 last I looked. We're not getting Thursday night, so that's a 10.5, 11 spot there for the San Francisco 49ers against the Giants. Who else?
The Chiefs are 13 at home against the Bears.
Right. I'm tempted to lay the 5.5 on the Eagles on Monday night.
Yeah. The Jaguars are 9 at home against Houston. There's a lot of big spreads out there.
Yeah. Right before we jump into this, we got almost 300 people watching with us. We're at 50 thumbs up. Thank you guys. A couple of comments from chat. Justin, what's up, Justin? It's been a while, man. Bengals are in serious trouble. Burrow's injury may be worse than anticipated. Yeah, if that re-aggravated calf injury is significant, and Zach Taylor did not exactly sound confident when asked if he would play this week, and that line dropped a lot. They're down to 1.5 in some spots on Monday night. That's bad. That is bad. It took them 6.5 quarters of football to get anything even remotely looking competent on offense. And now Joe Burrow re-aggravates that calf. That is bad, dude. That is bad, especially when you look at this team and the amount of weapons they have and the guys that are high priced, the guys you drafted early in fantasy leagues and best ball, Chase, Higgins, dude, Mixon even as like a 4th round type guy. Really ugly situation if Burrow's not healed up sooner than later.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Bengals fan or you want to spin it positive, you've seen that this team doesn't seem to have panic. They've been there before, particularly last year, but it's not good. They just don't look good. And with all those weapons, that's just not going to get it done. So we'll see. Again, it's only 2 weeks. It's a long season. Lots going to change. Losing by 3 points to the Ravens isn't terrible, but you got to start putting division games in the W column.
No doubt. I'm just speaking in terms of if Burrow can't play for multiple weeks. If Burrow didn't re-aggravate that and he was back next week, I would probably lay close to a touchdown on them against the Rams in Cincinnati. I would love Cincinnati this week if Burrow's good to go.
They just blew. We both, first Tuesday show of the year, we were operating that he was not going to play. I remember that distinctly. I was stunned that they rolled him out there in week 1 to begin with, and now it seems like that was a mistake.
Yep. It does. It really does. They rushed him back, and they got smoked anyway.
That's what I mean. Like, what?
Chase Harrell, his takeaway is Mike Evans is the 4th ranked fantasy player. He had a great matchup, and he and Baker Mayfield exploited that to the fullest extent. Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield have a real rapport right now, and it's really fun to see. I think that might slow down a little bit against Darius Slay and assuming Bradbury's back. But yeah, man. Yeah, that was good. Anything else? Let's see.
Rachaad White was awesome.
Yeah, love it. Love to see that. Love to see my boy Rachaad White get some work. All right. And then everyone just talking about Puka. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Let's make it happen. You ready? Oh, and there was
Yeah,
a
let's get
super
into it.
chat from Jensen White. Did you guys ever select a podcast review winner? I just needed more time. So this Sunday's deeper dive, Ben and I are going to do it. I needed more time to go over everything. It's busy, so don't worry. I got it handled. We're going to look over these and announce the winner for the free year and free months as well. All right, quarterbacks. Let's go. We've got a lot at the top. First of all, a lot at the top. Patrick Mahomes against Chicago, massive favorites, as you pointed out. Josh Allen, what are they? 6.5-point favorites in Washington. Lamar Jackson against Indy. Justin Herbert against Minnesota. These are the $7,500 and up guys. Justin Herbert's he has to be popular this week. I can't imagine he isn't. This game has last I looked, has a 54-point total. Two defenses that have, they just coughed up 27 to the Titans last week, a Titans team that couldn't operate anything in week one. How are you approaching the top tier quarterbacks this week?
Yeah, so I totally get, right now the Chargers, their offense is doing their part and they're still 0-2. You go against that Vikings team and that secondary that I think at times has really been exposed already. I'm fine with it, but I know Jackson's got a Q tag. We'll monitor and see, but I'm still going to say that I have some interest there, particularly if there's a big ownership discrepancy. So I think Herbert is the safest. You're looking at 40 plus pass attempts, high total game. He doesn't have some, if Lamar can get going on the ground and a couple big runs got called back in that game. I watched it very closely because I had the over on his rushing yards and it still got there. I'm still interested in Lamar in that spot. I think Mahomes is the toughest one because it's just like, what kind of game are they going to get as such big favorites? You want to pay that
with KC?
Yeah, like you're talking 8,300, and it always comes with the caveat you probably want Kelsey if you're going to play him.
For sure. Honestly, Isaiah Pacheco is an interesting play this week. Mm-hmm. If you're talking about how this game is going to go. Now, it could also go that Patrick Mahomes just throws 4 touchdowns in the first half. That's possible. But I don't hate Pacheco. Now, he only played 51% of snaps last week, 48% of snaps. Not to get off topic here, but you asked the question, if we're talking about how this game is going to go, I think you have to talk about the run game. Yeah, 12 attempts, 8 attempts in week one. That was a weird game against Detroit. I wouldn't be shocked, though, if they get things going on the ground, especially with the way things have kind of sputtered, right? Things are kind of sputtered with the aerial attack. And Pacheco has averaged 5.8 yards per attempt last game with a long run of 30 plus yards. I think he probably, to me, ends up being at 5,400, a guy that I'm willing to say this could be the type of game script where he ends up getting, 17 carries and a couple targets.
Yeah, that's more than fair. And we'll see, one's it's small, but a nice little bonus. So far, Mahomes has been very willing to give you an extra touchdown with his rushing upside. Like he's giving you 30, 40 yards rushing. That adds up really quickly. So we'll see. Obviously, he's got a great floor. I'm kind of indifferent to Josh Allen. Makes a lot of sense. There's still a touchdown favorite against Washington, but I think, you can't play everybody. He's not at the top of my list right now.
If you were to rank these guys, 7,500 and up, there's 5 of them, okay?
Yep.
4 of them. Mahomes, Allen, Jackson, and Herbert. I look at this and I think I would go, I think I would still go Mahomes first. And then I would go Herbert, Lamar out, and then Allen, I think that would be my order. Right now, at least.
I would go, I think Herbert is, in fact, the safest, and he's the cheapest. Lamar is probably the one I'm most interested in, then Mahomes, and then Allen, by default, would be the one who would be in last.
Okay. You could argue any of these guys are great plays this week. But if Mahomes' ownership comes in low, that would change that to me, that would probably be my biggest stand of the week. If it just, because it's expensive with him and Kelsey, maybe because of how they've played recently, maybe Pacheco ends up being real. If Mahomes at that price point to stack him with Kelsey, ends up being something that is, in our estimation, under-owned, looking at the top stacks tool and looking at ownership, I would probably try and get as much Mahomes as possible. That's how I look at it now.
Yeah, I have no pushback on that. I do want to kind of, because he's the next guy, and Brandon Smith just mentioned him. What about Fields? Do you think people will go there? And will you go there? I don't know. I don't know. I want to. I have interest in Fields for the third time now.
Yeah. And if you're playing from behind, which is entirely possible, he might just have to. The problem is you got Chris Jones back in Kansas City. They sacked Trevor Lawrence 4 times last game. You look at I mentioned before that week too, that I think Justin Fields' upside rushing could be highly limited against that Bucs team, particularly those linebackers. They and even a guy like Winfield. And what did he have? Like 4 yards? I'm probably just being dramatic. What did he have rushing? I'm sorry, no, he had 3 yards rushing in that game. That's crazy. Are we worried at all that good teams might have been able to figure out, like, hey, just don't let him run and make him throw?
Maybe, but and again, maybe it doesn't change for various reasons. I didn't look at that they figured anything out. I looked at it. That's just bad scheming. You got to give him opportunity. If he had 9 carries for 3 yards, I'd be like, okay, something is not working. But how is he only running 4 times? What are they? I think you just have to buy low here on Fields, because I still believe that they can scheme him to massive rushing upside.
You're probably right for what it's worth.
How can he not run?
You're probably right that it's 7,100 in this game where they're huge dogs. But dude, what do they need to do? Bring back prime Calvin Johnson to get him any? It's not like he's completely devoid of weapons in the passing game anymore. DJ Moore's good. Cole Kmet's fine. I know Darnell Mooney got banged up, but they have capable pass catching running backs. Is there just no way that he can competently throw the football right now? Like, I know we love the rushing upside, but that only gets you as far as your arm does at this point of Fields' career. He has to do something with his arm, because this isn't like an Eagles team with Jalen Hurts, where you have a mobile quarterback that can rely on the defense, right? Like they can rack up a couple rushing touchdowns, get those goal line pushes, and now he's got 2 touchdowns, only threw for 197 and a score, but who gives a shit? Fields can't do that. Like, Fields has to win games with his legs, and that's a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem. I just, I still look at that and I just think, okay, if they fall behind as they're expected to do, I can't believe that they are going to make him a statue quarterback. Like, you got to let him go.
You can't do it.
They did last week. That's what I'm saying. I didn't view that as Fields not being able to run. I viewed it as them not letting him run.
Yeah.
You got to let him go. And now, again, it's Tuesday. This is ownership dependent, but I just think a lot of people have soured on Fields at this point. His price has not come down. This might be a pretty interesting spot. Maybe the rare, can I say it early in the show? What about on Owner's Box playing Fields against the Mahomes stack?
It's not crazy.
It almost worked last week, by the way.
I know. Marco said, are we saying that Kansas City's defense isn't good? No, I actually think they've been better than advertised this year. And first game was without Chris Jones. They only allowed 14 points to Detroit, to their offense, right?
Yeah,
14 points.
Tony scored 4.
Exactly.
Yeah.
14 points to that offense. That we know that's a high powered offense with a good offensive line. And then what they allowed to Jacksonville, 9 points.
Yep. That was another team that first and goal on the 1, and they did not score, and the running backs had 0 touches. That can't happen.
Amazing. I watched Arthur Smith do that with Desmond Ridder. I know they won that game good because I had the money line, but I watched Arthur Smith do that. He didn't give it to Robinson. He didn't give it to Algier. They're just like, let's have Desmond Ridder throw 3 times at the 1. because we like to get cute and be stupid. But I don't know, dude. I don't know. Yeah, Fields is viable. I'll give you that. I think he probably struggles early on. I mean, really, your hope here is what? That he just has to do
Garbage.
everything?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what are you doing in the mid-range? Because the lower tier sub 6K is not pretty. You have Geno maybe against Carolina. They're without JC Horn, but the defense didn't look terrible, all things considered. The offense wasn't on the field all that much early in the game. So the low tier, you can talk to me about that mixed in with the mid, but Cousins, 6,900, 54-point total game at home in the dome. Got it. Trevor Lawrence against Houston, big favorite, 6,800, probably a bounce back effort here. Prescott against Arizona. I may just go to 100% Tony Pollard at this point. You know,
I hear you.
He has 7 goal line carries in 2 games. Jared Goff against Atlanta, just throwing some guys out there. But to me, and shout out to CJ Stroud for what it's worth. He has played well for what he has to work with and how quickly they fell behind. But what are you doing in the mid-range and the low tier?
So, yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins is going to be very popular. He should be. Everything sets up beautifully for him. Where I'm getting into trouble is I think Trevor Lawrence is standard, very safe, easy to pair. There are 2 guys right below them that I think are intriguing and I think could get you into a lot of trouble. You didn't mention either of them.
Well, hold on. Let me take a guess. Just tell me what price point they're below.
So they are below Anthony Richardson.
All right. Well, one of them's Russell Wilson.
Correct.
Okay.
The other one is even worse, I think.
You can't be talking Watson here.
I am.
I know you too well, but I mean, I get it. Pass funnel defense and all that good fun stuff, but go ahead.
I mean, I just look at this and okay, Nick Chubb is gone. Yep. You're playing a pass funnel defense. You're back at home. The volume should be there. Now, the problem with Deshaun Watson is he sucks. He can't move. I don't really understand like what is going on last night. He just couldn't run. Like, it was just like, oh, wow, he's slow. And then he would get tackled. I would know because I really needed him to get it going and he just couldn't. Well, let's table him. You mentioned Denver's a.
By the way, did you hear the announcers yesterday go, yeah, and you know this DC defensive coordinator for the Browns, he wants these guys to celebrate. He wants them after every single big play to celebrate, do something crazy. Very next play is a George Pickens 70-yard touchdown. I found that ironic and comical. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, the announcers in every game are just like.
It's unreal.
I was watching a college game. It's like, it's 4th and 1 from midfield, and they bring the offense back, and the announcers are just like, the coach told me they were going to be aggressive. This is winning football. This is what they need to do. And it was a bluff. They took the penalty and punted. And then the guys like had to take it all back. Stupid. But what about Russell Wilson? I mean, as bad as they've been, you mentioned, he hasn't been bad. The offense hasn't been terrible. He has to hit the road, but Miami's going to throw the ball. We know that. Contrarian quarterbacks in the mid to lower 6s, I think, is pretty good spot to attack for large fields.
Yeah, my only issue here before we move on to running back, and I don't think you'll disagree with this, with Lawrence, with Mahomes, with Dak, all of those guys, I could unquestionably just see Travis Etienne and Isaiah Pacheco and Tony Pollard having monster games, and the quarterbacks don't need to do as much with how big of favorites they are, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of that throughout the league. And I think that's something we need to, you have to embrace some of that, but it's a legitimate concern that these teams volume wise may not have to throw the ball that often.
Yeah, guys, I don't think it is the lack of massages that is taking Deshaun Watson's powers away, so to speak, as someone mentioned in chat. I mean, let's be honest. If it really was necessary and required for him to be good, you could discreetly get some OnlyFans girls in there to give you some massages, right? I mean, there are outs.
He is just, I'm just stunned at his lack of just like, you just don't see the upside right now. That's the biggest concern. Like he doesn't
No
have
upside.
flashes of it.
I will say though, in his defense, yes. Now that one deep ball late in the game was terrible. Had to have been 20 yards out of bounds. But there were like 3 to Elijah Moore on the sidelines that Elijah Moore missed getting his foot in by half an inch. That were, I thought were very good sideline, like boundary throws.
I was more concerned that he couldn't run.
Yeah, if he has no mobility and you're relying simply on a Browns quarterback to get you there. By the way, could this end up being one of the worst contracts in NFL history? I was thinking about this last night.
Yeah, no, they're screwed.
Right? They gave him a lot of money.
Yeah, no, they're stuck. They're completely stuck.
And now Nick Chubb's done for the year. Jeez.
Yeah, it's concerned. I mean, his best runs, every time he would run, best case scenario, he would get sacked for like a 6-yard loss. Worst case scenario, he would get like multiple face mask penalties. Deshaun Watson had like 4 face masks last night. I've never seen.
I know.
It's just
and
like.
They weren't just touching, they were legit grabbing the face.
Yeah. Twist. Like guys full. I don't know.
Breakers. What. Yeah. It's not good. Just unnatural. Dak ? Yeah, no, we talked about that. I think Dak is a objectively good play. Again, any of these games could go a million different ways. If you were to ask me what game do I think could surprise us where the quarterback is a huge favorite, ends up having to do more than we thought, believe it or not, Ben, I would go to Patrick Mahomes because Fields, if he does unleash the legs, I could see this game being closer than we thought, at least enough to where Mahomes has to keep trying. I simply don't see it with the Arizona Cardinals being able to stay competitive. I saw what they did against the Giants and Josh Dobbs. I don't buy it. Not against that Dallas defense. Maybe Houston against Jacksonville, but to me, but for me, I think that would be more of what I see now. I think that could be more of like a lower scoring, underwhelming game that stays close than a shootout.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, I ultimately like Jacksonville in the game, like most people. Seems like Dallas. The problem with Dallas is not only the running game, it's the defense. So like if Pollard is going crazy on the ground, that's going to hurt Dak. If the defense just destroys Arizona, that might hurt Dak as well. So I just worry about how many passes does he have to crazy volume. I'd say there are few. Efficiency will be good, but that's not enough a lot of times.
Any other quarterbacks? I think we hit them, right?
I think you want to mostly pay up at quarterback this week. Like I have no interest in the Howell, Stroud, Mac Jones, Carr range.
Chad TTV said, I mean, does anything top Foles getting 50 million guaranteed? Yeah, Deshaun Watson getting 230 million guaranteed if it goes like this. Be way worse than the Foles contract, honestly.
It's bad.
Way worse. Anyway. Well, no, seriously, Watson's playing like a well below average quarterback, but he's paid like an elite quarterback. It's not good. Anyway, let's talk running backs. Before we do, guys, you already know, we still have the free week of our NFL Sims Max package free, entirely free. Link in the description. You'll see it. It's the first one. That one or the one that Jordan Klein, our producer today, can throw in the chat. When you sign up at Owner's Box and deposit there using the link, they have awesome Superflex contest that overlaid heavily. That was a 50K up top contest that overlaid by like 30% last week. Dead money, free money in there. They have a deposit bonus first time you sign up to $500. So the minimum deposit to get the free week is only $10. But if you have the means, take advantage of that deposit bonus as much as you can. They have the super flex, which is awesome. You can play a quarterback in the flex spot and you get all of our tools. The contest generator, the NFL lineup simulator, the post lineup simulator. What else? Ownership, player projections, top stack tool, boom bust tool, lineup generator, premium Discord, all of our showdown tools and single game tools as well. Everything entirely free for the first week. It's not going to be here forever. So if you're looking to get in on that, no better time than now. I know you've been trying to figure out that super flex stuff lately too.
Like I said, I've been playing around with it to see, can you stack two quarterbacks from the same? I had some of that in the Bucks game, and I had the right combination. Just didn't have Edwins. I had Baker, Godwin, and White when you needed Baker, Evans, and White. But it's fun. And you mentioned, again, the reality of the situation is if you're serious about growing the bankroll, you got to allocate not everything. It doesn't need to be all of it, but you got to put some of your funds towards the best contests out there. And when a contest is overlaying like that, it is objectively the best contest. So, yeah.
Like, would you rather put 20 entries into the Millie that fills easily and has, equally insanely, the payout structure up top is just everything the first, or would you rather put 20 $15 entries in something that's 50K up top and overlays it 30%? So
and for me, what I always say about that, I want a chance at the Millie. So I would just do 10 and 10. It doesn't have to be everything.
For sure. But I'm saying still objectively the better contest is the one that overlays 30%.
There's no doubt. There's just no doubt.
We have owner's box built into our lineup simulator, into ownership player projections. We have it for everything too. So you're getting the free week of our tools and you're getting everything for owner's box, DraftKings, FanDuel. We got you covered. Link in the description and chat. If you ever have any questions, hit me up on the X. My DMs are open at Lafayette_D. All right. Running backs. Eckler, I don't know if he plays. What's that?
Do you get a lot of DMs?
Yeah. And I try and respond to all of them. As long as they're not insane.
Isn't that
writing
most
me
of them?
writing me a huge novel about something. I just don't have time. But I keep them open too, because I get some awesome comments in there from people that just, good people. And I like reading it. But sometimes you get some wild men.
I can't. I miss out on a lot of good because I can't deal with
it doesn't bother me. Yeah.
There's
always just the don't accept this DM option, but anytime it's a question and it's not requiring an hour of my time, I'm happy to do it. So do you think Eckler plays this week? I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't again.
I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't again as well. It's hard to know. We're going to just have to be kind of in the dark there. He's extremely expensive. It's a weird, look at the top. You're seeing, obviously Nick Chubb is gone, but you've got 3 Q tags, you've got Pollard, and then you've got Bijan still up there who, I get he's coming down $100 a week, but I'm getting closer and closer to playing more of him this week.
I will say this much. I would love, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't say that because he'll be popular, but I'll happily go back to Joshua Kelly this week if Eckler's out. It was brutal last week. I talked about it on the deeper dive. I was like, Zach Moss could be the guy that gets every touch in this game, and then I just ended up not really getting any of him at all. That's my biggest regret on the week, is being overweight on 2 guys that I just didn't love, but it's all on me. Full responsibility. I played those lineups, but looking back on it, like AJ Dillon stinks, man. He's not good.
No,
he's not good. Zach Moss had every single touch and almost every single running back snap against Houston.
Yeah. Now I will say that game got completely screwed up. Richardson was going to break the slate.
And
then,
but Moss was still the only running back to touch.
No, I know, but it's a lot easier when Richardson's not there, I think.
Yeah, with Minshew back there, no question.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about from a volume perspective. But
no, I get you.
I'd go back to Kelly, 5,400, 54-point total game. That's interesting if Eckler's out. If Eckler's in, I love him. I'll tell you, there's a lot of weeks where I don't want to pay up for running backs, but I think Tony Pollard's just an outstanding play this week. He's getting everything. He already has 11 red zone touches on the ground. He already has 7 goal line carries. Him and Eckler, if Eckler's healthy, back 100%, those 2 guys in their respective spots look damn good this week.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with Pollard because every potential avenue that's like concerning, he's got an answer for it. It's like, they might get blown out. Well, they want to run the ball. Oh, they could somehow fall behind. Well, that's great. He catches passes. Like everything is there for him. He's got upside. The price is reasonable. I get it. I look to him, and if I can get the money for him and Bijan, I would love to have that 1-2 punch on some teams.
For him and who?
Robinson.
You like
Bijan.
Robinson this week, huh?
I do. I'm starting to come around. Again, I thought there could be volume issues, but if you're going to give me 5 targets and nearly 20 carries, the guy's unbelievable. It's not a talent thing. We know he can play.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's really, really good. And you don't have to go there. I mean, there's guys, your boy James Cook has been, I think, very solid and will continue to be solid for Buffalo. So there are plays up and down this range.
A ton. Algier still had 16 carries last week too, which is nuts.
But they don't throw the ball. So it's like.
They did a little bit more. Ritter was fine. Not bad. Drake London got in the end zone. Yeah, no, I have no issues with Bijan Robinson. I will be interested, though. I think this is by far the stiffest test that they're going to face, the Atlanta Falcons so far, because they had Atlanta without Aaron Jones, their biggest playmaker, without Christian Watson, arguably their biggest playmaker, if not the second behind Jones. And then in week 1, they faced Bryce Young in his first ever game. I like Detroit laying 3 points here for what it's worth. I know they lost chunks to CJ Gardner-Johnson, it looks like, for a while, which sucks. Lost David Montgomery, but that takes me to Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is 6,600. Saw 9 targets in that game. I think they use him more on the ground. They have to. It'd be crazy to not immediately make him the bell cow back with Montgomery out. I like him over James. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, and then I'll go to James Cook.
That's my biggest question. So I absolutely love Gibbs. The problem is I think that Detroit might control. They're at home. Atlanta's hitting the road here. What happens if Detroit wins this game, 28-10 and they're in control? Like, is Reynolds siphoning off carries, or do you think that Gibbs, he needs that volume?
Yeah, maybe Craig Reynolds does, but
that would be dumb.
But Gibbs still saw 16 looks in that game, 9 targets, 7 attempts, and that was with Montgomery not going down to what? Like late in the second half? I think Gibbs would still get a significant enough amount of work. He's explosive. They should be able to score. He played 50% of snaps last week. I think you see more this week. You have to see more this week. I like him more than James Cook. Listen, I really think James Cook is a good player. The problem is, who scored last week? Latavius Murray and Damian Harris. And that was the concern. Week 1, they didn't get to the goal line against the Jets on that Monday night game. They never got to the goal line. And then we see him get to the goal line and Latavius Murray and Damian Harris get those opportunities. I hate paying a mid-range price point for a guy who needs to break one, especially with Josh Allen being someone that can rush one in from the goal line too.
I get it, but I look at it, the only thing I'll say, all of that is true. All of that didn't go his way, and he still got there.
Yeah.
Like, he's able to get there on volume right now, and if you get a TD, it's a bonus.
They were ahead so early and easily in that game, though. I don't know.
Washington, though? Ugh.
Would you rather Cook over Kenneth Walker, who had 2 goal line touchdowns?
Yeah, I would.
Really?
Yeah. I respect Carolina's defense a little bit. That front's good.
I still respect Washington's defense, even after what we saw on Sunday.
I don't respect Washington's anything. They don't know what they're doing. I like Sam Howell, but that's besides the point.
I just love the mid-tier. I love Travis Etienne. I love Gibbs. I like Walker. He's fine. Obviously up top, Eckler if he plays, Tony Pollard, Robinson you mentioned. Would you play any Derrick Henry?
Ownership dependent. Certainly if everyone is saying I'm going elsewhere, then maybe. We talked about this on the deeper dive, and I think it was turned out that it was true. Derrick Henry, when they need it, is going to get serious volume. Maybe they don't want to do that, but they have to. So I don't worry about that. It's a tough matchup. And I think that if it's all being equal, I'd rather have Bijan or Pollard.
What about Madison against the Chargers? People tried to blame Eagles fans for those heinous messages that he was sent.
People are just crazy.
Why wouldn't the Eagles fans would be sending him gift baskets, not racist insults? I mean, he helped us quite a bit in that game with those multiple fumbles. but this is as good a spot as you're going to get, or at least better than we've seen in both of the first 2 weeks. You go to any Madison this week, I think it's, if nothing else, an interesting spot. And I think you can make the same argument for Brian Robinson, who is the clear, undisputed through 2 weeks, number one running back in that backfield.
Yeah, I totally get that. So the thing about Madison that is interesting is he directly is going against the most popular stack. And that's always kind of a potential positive. So say he falls in the end zone, he gets lucky, he breaks a couple, he falls in the end zone. The chances that Kirk Cousins and all those pass catchers get there is now lower. So you're getting two things done at the same time. But as Chad has pointed out, it's been a rough go for Madison to start the season, and
been bad.
That has to be a legitimate concern.
Yeah, Madison's been rough.
He's been bad, yeah.
He's also gone up against that Philly front, which is scary, right? The rotation of players that they have is nuts. And against that front for Tampa. If not, and I'm not even saying I end up with a lot of Madison. I don't know. But I don't think there's anyone's going to disagree that his first 2 matchups as the lead back in Minnesota have been, unenviable matchups.
Yeah, I agree with that.
How about some cheap guys here? I don't mind. There's a few guys in this range that are interesting.
Pacheco, your
Pacheco.
boy.
Kelly if Eckler's out at 5,400.
Kelly if Eckler's out. I want to talk about Javonte Williams. I'm just not sure that I can just yet. What about Jerome Ford?
I'm wondering if they bring Kareem Hunt back or something.
I don't know. They seem pretty content with him and Pierre Strong, who vultured a touchdown.
Jerome Ford.
He was good.
You know what's funny though? I want to think about something. All right. Week 1, no Alvin Kamara. Cheap Jamal Williams, right? Pretty chalky against Tennessee. Nothing. Yep. Week 2, Austin Eckler out against Tennessee. Pretty chalky. Very chalky. Nothing. Shit. 3.9 DraftKings points or whatever it was. Week 3, Nick Chubb out. Jerome Ford versus Tennessee. What's going to happen, fellas? I couldn't tell you, but I do know that this Tennessee run defense is legitimately no joke at all.
Very good point. Very true. I think that this guy, though, from what I saw, first of all, it looks like the difference between him and the first 2 guys you mentioned, I think this guy could get 5 or 6 targets.
That's the one difference. Yep.
And that's big. That's really big for a cheap running back.
I have to score, though.
He looked pretty good, though. I mean, he was running effectively. Like, Nick Chubb's unbelievable, but if you just look at the numbers, like, it's not like there was any. The guy averaged over 6 yards a carry last night. He also had like an 80-yard run. I understand that, but still.
No. He looked good for sure. Just unnatural. So Kendra Miller active this week with Jamal Williams doubtful. He will have Alvin Kamara usage. And I don't know. I actually was thinking about that earlier this morning. Like if Jamal Williams doesn't play and Kamara obviously still out, would I consider some Kendra Miller? I guess it depends for me on what Jerome Ford's usage looks like, how popular guys like Josh Kelly are if Eckler's out. I'd have to wait to see how this slate shapes up. If he's 0% owned, 1% owned, I might take a few shots there. I don't know. Who's New Orleans playing again?
Green Bay. I just worry.
Not the worst matchup on the ground.
I just worry with it being a hamstring, with having Taysom Hill, with having Tony Jones. Like, it just seems like there's a lot of ways he gets like 8 carries.
This would simply be like a large field, couple shares.
Yeah.
And maybe he has a game. Maybe, because Tony Jones is not good. He was fine yesterday, but he's not actually good.
Yeah.
All right. We've seen Tony Jones in that role before. He's not good. We covered everything at running back?
I think so.
All right, let's go wide receivers here. And guys, we're going to be recording the podcast exclusive after this. Single entry, 3 max, all of that good stuff going on. Do we have any good sports book promos right now?
So, again, you've probably heard us talk about Caesars for quite a while. That did wind down, but that MGM has stepped up, and they have a very similar deal. They have bet 10, get 200. in bonus bets. So you're going to get four $50 bonus bets. That same concept. You can just go to these books, rack up the bonus bets right now. So you can go to those links. You also can always go to oddchopper.com and check out just the promos tab. So you can see everything that's going on in the industry and find the ones that make sense for you.
I must say, the idea of not having any sportsbook accounts and being green to this and just being able to go on all of them and get like, imagine if you were someone that wasn't on DraftKings or FanDuel, never played DFS. DraftKings is bet 10, get 200, bet 5, get 200. FanDuel's bet 5, get 200. Caesars was bet 50, get 250. Bet MGM's bet 10, get 200. Like, out of the gate in some of these states, depending on where you're getting like $800 for depositing 50 or $60 total. It's crazy.
And it's super simple. Like, these are 2-minute things. And we've got tools to support it. So yeah, shout out again, OddChopper. If you're in a state that has some wagering options, go check out oddchopper.com.
You really should.
Yeah.
Are the picks still free? Is today the last day?
I think today's
on the app.
Day. Yeah, I think today's the last day, but we've got some exciting things going on over there. No doubt about it. Yeah, Ford is also built differently than the other two backs. Avi just super chatted us that. I agree. I think it's a different situation.
For sure. But it isn't.
Okay.
Like, it is, but it isn't. This Cleveland offense still doesn't look good. We'll see. Well, look, we're going to see what ownership comes in at tomorrow for sure.
Yes, we are.
Oh, guys, this is important. If you're already on owner's box, I saw some people saying that, like, whatever, and or you're just looking for a way to get some tools at a good price, we just discounted the NFL lineup generator. It's $9.99 for the week. I don't think this goes on long. $9.99 for the week, which is huge because it has Showdown where you can actually boost or deboost scores from one team to the other. You can play it for the way that you think the game's going to go. Showdown, lineup generator, and the main slate, all these slates really, generator, $9.99 for the first week. You're getting lineups. You're seeing the optimal projection. You're seeing how popular they are. You're seeing how chalky they are. You can set it, whatever type of stacks you want. You can set how chalky or contrarian you want, whether it's cash or tournaments. You get these lineups, save the ones you like, discard the ones you don't, upload it straight to CSV. Then after you're done, you can see your exposures to every player, to every stack. You can see all of your lineups. It's optimized for mobile. You can use it for main slate, for showdown slates. $9.99 for the first week. Normally it's what, $14.99. So you're getting a nice chunk off the top. You're in the door for $9.99. And the lineup generator is something that you can grab separately. It's an awesome tool. We run thousands of sims, right? And throw out all the bad lineups, give you the plus EV lineups. You can select the ones you like most. Link to that's in the description and in chat if you want to jump in. All right. And we've got wide receivers. Jefferson against the Chargers, Hill against Denver, Diggs against Washington. I'm on Russ St. Brown against Atlanta. He said he's fine. CeeDee Lamb against Arizona. Keenan Allen against Arizona. Yes. Keenan Allen against Minnesota. Calvin Ridley against Houston. And those are just the guys north of 7,200. There are a lot of good high-priced guys this week. A lot.
And that's why, to go backwards for just 1 second, the appeal of Ford is going to be not just that you think he's a good play. It's I want Tyreek and I want Justin Jefferson and I want Ridley. If you go to Dak, you're going to want CeeDee Lamb. These guys are in great spots. Keenan Allen, you mentioned. We just rattled off about 10 names and they all make sense. You think anyone will go to Diggs?
Yeah. I think they should. I think people should go to Diggs if they're not going to.
I look at this and it's just like, okay, Cousins, you want Jefferson for sure. Dak, you're going to want Lamb. Keenan Allen's in the great stack game. He's going to be a run back or your attachment to Herbert. Tyreek has been breaking slates. It's not to say that Josh Allen and Diggs are lost this week, but I do think with their ranges, most people are looking elsewhere.
So do you think we should be playing this high range with the mindset of all of these guys are great plays and there could be some really good leverage spots with elite level talent?
I think that we'll see with St. Brown. and Diggs, but those two in particular, I think could be lower owned just based on the situations around them.
Okay. All right. I think you're right too. Lamb's got to be at 7,700 pretty popular. Keenan Allen's definitely got to be popular, and he's having a great start to the season through the first 2 weeks. He's got to be popular. Jefferson's really expensive. What's that?
You don't think? I think who's not playing Tyreek Hill?
I think Tyreek Hill will be less popular than Lamb and Allen.
Really?
And Jefferson.
Interesting. I just thought, given how bad Denver has been defensively, and given that in week 1, Tyreek broke the slate.
Was Denver bad defensively in week 1?
I don't even remember who they played the Raiders though, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, well that doesn't. You can't be bad defensively against the Raiders because they're not a serious team.
I just think people are going to see CeeDee Lamb against Arizona at a big discount from the top guys, Keenan Allen at a big discount from the top guys in a 54-point total game, and kind of just gravitate there naturally. Maybe I'm wrong. Do you think Tyreek Hill will be the most popular receiver among that group?
I think he has a chance to be. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Let me just, I want to bring up passing yards. I mean, it's early, so it's pretty noisy, but they were, let's see what we can find. Passing yards per attempt, Denver. Yeah, Denver's 27th right now, 7.2 yards allowed per pass attempt. Suspiciously bad.
Bug Boy, surprise Laffy didn't mention AJ Brown. His butt plug activates every time an Eagle is mentioned. He's not in the slate, dummy. All right, who are you going with for the mid-range?
Yeah, I mean, so
Metcalf, Jerry God, man. Some of these are ugly, but I guess there's a few in here that could be interesting.
I mean, I think most people, again, the obvious name will just be attached to the best game. You're talking Mike Williams at flat 6. This is where it gets tough. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins last week, not great. And we talked about him maybe as that contrarian option. Want to see what's up with Richardson because Pittman, he's got 23 targets in 2 games.
Yeah, he does.
That's a lot of volume. And now he gets Baltimore. Not the best range in the world. We'll see what's up with Metcalf. He's sporting a Q tag. I don't see myself getting to this range a ton, to be honest.
Mike Williams is 6K against Minnesota.
Yeah.
Gabe Davis, 5,800 against Washington.
Always in play.
What about your boy Amari? If you get into some Deshaun Watson, what about Amari at 5,700?
I mean, he had 10 targets.
Do you like Addison at all? Because that's a spot where I look at it and I go, he scored touchdowns in each of his first 2 games, but the volume hasn't exactly been there, and he's still 3rd in the pecking order behind Jefferson and Hockenson.
It feels like he's hitting his ceiling in these games, and it's not that good in some ways. Like he's scoring on inefficient volume. I would rather play DJ Moore.
Yeah. Also, I should say, as far as snap counts and routes go, he's been well behind KJ Osborne too.
Yeah, I don't. Again, Addison's a talented player, and I like him, and he's attached to a great game, but I think he's just a little too pricey for me.
Yeah, he's 4th in the pecking order among pass catchers. He's just scored twice. Well, honestly, wouldn't you rather just take a discount on a 4K KJ Osborne? To me, that makes way more sense. $1,500 discount on Osborne, who's on the field for essentially every play. 6 targets in back-to-back games, 91 and 97% of snaps played. To me, Osborne at 4K is actually a fantastic play this week in that high total game.
And you're going to see him, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to go Cousins, Jefferson, Osborne.
Sure.
With like Mike Williams bring back. And I get it.
They have to with $9,300 Jefferson. And 100%. Cousins isn't cheap.
No, not at all.
Yeah, true.
What about Drake London? I like him this week.
No, I'm good.
Okay, good. Glad we discussed that. Very good.
Well, hold on a second. You talk about a guy like Addison hitting his ceiling and it's just not that good. I honestly feel like that's what happened with London in the Green Bay game. 6 of 7, 67 yards and a touchdown. How often are you going to see double-digit targets for this guy?
Well, that's where I'm saying there's room, because I think that Atlanta is going to have to abandon the run when they go down here on the road to a Detroit team. And if that happens, what does it look like? Now, if it's we're just going to do what we do, you're right. That's not going to get it done. But I think Drake London in games where Atlanta isn't able to control might have 10, 11, 12 targets.
Would you go Detroit stacks with the Drake run? That I don't hate. I don't mind London as a run back option, because you know why? Because if that works, if Drake London ends up having a good game, it really
Detroit.
feels like it's what you're saying, where they
Detroit
fall behind
crushes.
early.
Yes.
And if that's the case and it starts to go back and forth, I'm going to want some Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown, probably some Sam Laporta, maybe some Reynolds. I feel like I'm going to want the Detroit side if London has a big game, right?
Yep, totally agree. Not that I'm advocating people making same game parlays, because I'm not advocating that. But the concept of it would be like Drake London overs with Detroit winning by 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I get it. You're going to go back to Kyle Pitts?
Yeah, probably.
You can't shake that fella, huh?
No, he is the new Evan Ingram.
You know who I do think is interesting too, though, in the lower range? I don't hate Michael Thomas this week. I don't hate Nico Collins. CJ Stroud is buoying. Like he's holding up some of these pass catches. And shout out to Nico Collins, because he's played well for sure.
He has.
But Stroud has not been a liability as far as fantasy production goes as a pass catcher for pass catchers through the first couple of weeks. He hasn't.
You could even go to Robert Woods. Robert Woods has 19 targets in 2 games.
I know, and he's cheap.
Yeah.
I prefer Osborne, but a lot of people probably will. Sky Moore's 4,400. Reynolds is 4,200. Thielen got peppered. He's going against Seattle. They could fall behind early. He's 3,900. Tank Dell's 3,600. That was my guy last week.
He was good.
He was solid. He's going to be solid. The diminutive little, fast guy out there picking up yards. I think you can punt. I think you could comfortably punt a lot of, I'm not saying in the same lineup, but I honestly think you can punt a lot of receivers this week.
You're going to have to.
Cheap. Yeah, Woods is cheap. Tony's cheap. Moore's cheap. Reynolds, Osborne, Thielen, Tank Dell. Obviously, those last two aren't going to get you excited, but they're sub 4K. Would you go to would you go to Cortland Sutton or any of these Denver guys? You mentioned Russell Wilson earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I was really disappointed with Sutton last week. Just didn't do much, but I think you could go back to him. I wouldn't go. The Mims situation, if you dig into those numbers, was just a fluke. I mean, he had 2 targets and 113 yards. Like, okay, sure. Why not?
No, that was ridiculous.
That's just one of those things.
All right. I wanted to see what the run play percentage was for Houston this year.
Like 3%.
32. How about the fact that New England is behind them at 31%?
Yeah, that's disturbing. Where's Atlanta? 90%.
So Cincinnati's 31%. Pittsburgh's 27%. A lot of that because of week 1, where they threw it 83% of the time.
Yeah.
Minnesota, 22%. Ugly stuff. Atlanta leads the league 56.5%, 3% higher than the next closest team.
Yep.
Yeah, man. I don't think Atlanta's a terrible team. I just think against Detroit, they could run into some trouble in Detroit. But that game's in a dome. Should be fun. Any other receivers we haven't touched on you want to get to before we wrap it up with tight ends?
Not really. I think, again, just attachment to stacks, secondary paydowns, Osborne types, I think are fine, but we'll see as the week opens up.
Okay. Yeah, like Zay Flowers.
MVS, like, yeah, there are YOLO targets. There's so many of them, it's hard to decipher. I'll let the tools do the work for me.
For sure. And guys, make sure you're rocking the Stochastic avatar wherever it is you play. DraftKings, FanDuel, Owners Box. You know what I mean? Stochastic.com/avatar. Download it. Use it wherever it is you play. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Tweet us your wins. Post us your wins on the X. It was dumb to get rid of the whole tweet thing. I mean, it just, whatever. Send us your wins at Stochastic HOF on the X or Twitter, whichever you call it. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 where you're getting a free month of any package that you want, up to $200 value, any package you want. And you're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame ceremony that we do every week. Good stuff. Just for literally rocking an avatar. Plus, it could be in the quarter arcade. It doesn't matter. You could win less money than the package, the subscription you're getting is worth. And you're still in the door. No reason not to, baby. Rep it with us. Become part of the family here and then get some good stuff along the way. All right. And we're north of 100 likes, Ben. No surprise. Doing well. You ready to... And thank you, guys. Shout out to everyone hanging with us on a Tuesday morning. Let's talk tight ends, all right? I guess it's a... Go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I don't know. Tight end it's difficult when you've got Kelsey and Hawkinson and Andrews up there. It really changes the entire range.
Yeah, it does. It's the first week all season that we've had this.
Yep.
I like Hawkinson a lot.
Yep.
No problem with Andrews or Kelsey at all. I like Sam Laporta. Last week, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Sam Laporta, Drake, it's all coming together. It's all coming together.
Look, I know Laporta hasn't had that big game yet, but he's $4,000. He's caught 10 of 11 targets. Normally, like, oh, whatever. But a rookie tight end, you want to see that. Like, you want to see that the quarterback can place faith in a young player. He's caught 10 of 11 targets. He hasn't done anything great, but he averaged what? 12.6 yards per target last game. That's solid. That's real solid. We'll take that any day of the week. Or yards per reception, sorry, I should say. And then take it one step further. He's a rookie tight end who you kind of never know what's going to happen with these guys. He's played 83 and 82% of snaps in both games, and he's running routes on like 75% of dropbacks. To me, against Atlanta, $4,000, I'll go back to him again. I think that big game could be coming. And if he just scores, you're looking real nice at that salary.
Oh, yeah. It's from, listen, can't stand Iowa, but they are a tight end factory. They just produce machines. So
where are you going behind Kelsey, Hawkinson, and Mark Andrews?
Yeah, I mean, certainly I'm going to echo your thoughts on Laporta. I have no problem with that. It's a little tricky. I mean, again, like a Cole Kmet is the type of guy, if I get to Fields, he's going to factor in potentially. But I'm not sure I want him as a standalone. I don't get that. Musgrave will continue to be a popular pay down option, I think, for Green Bay. We'll see what's up with Watson. Do I dare bring up Zach Ertz? 18 targets in 2 games, and they're obviously going to be behind again. He's 3,500. Like if you're 3,500 and you're getting 8 to 10 targets, it's almost by default that you have to be at least in play.
Yeah, you have to at least be in the conversation.
Correct.
Sure. Yeah, I get it. Would you rather go to Ertz or would you rather go to Kincaid? Or Knox?
That's the thing. So it's such a different conversation. Like, would you rather have the 6th option on an elite team? Would you rather just be Ertz, running amok when they're down like 38-2? I think I'd rather have Ertz.
Okay. Any interest in Chig?
He was obviously better. Tennessee, I don't know. I respect Cleveland's defense. I'm not in love with the Tennessee situation. Adam Troutman, I played him last week. That may have been a mistake. Did I miss something?
Dulcich was out.
Yeah, I got that part. That's why I played him. Yeah, go ahead. I'll take it. I'll just talk about Troutman because I looked and not only did he have 0, he had no targets. And then they threw the ball like 60 times late in the game and he still got 0, but he did manage a lone target. I don't really know what the deal was there.
I don't either. I guess it's time to wrap this up with Detroit or with defenses then? What do you say? We always talk about 1 or 2 defenses under 3K just to throw it out there, see what happens.
You got a defense in mind?
I do. Saints are 2,900 against Green Bay. The defenses look good.
The
Jets were putrid last game, maybe 2,800 there. Would you play Broncos 2,500 at Miami?
I mean, you probably get 40 attempts to catch a ball and get a pick. So I like that. I'd rather play. If I was going to take a real cheap defense, I'd take Washington.
All right.
Josh Allen makes, like, he's great and I'm a huge fan, but he makes 2 or 3 plays every week where you're just like,
I get it. I thought the Jets could hold up enough to, make a play or 2 last week. I couldn't have been more wrong there.
They tried. I mean, I watched that entire game. They had chances. I'm not saying they were going to win. I'm not saying it would have been any different, but Sauce Gardner dropped a pick 6 early in the game. The Jets would have had the lead. You got to make those plays.
I know. And they were getting this close to Dak Prescott. He was good getting the ball out. There were so many rushes where they were right there and couldn't get it done. And then you knew it would get out of hand. Like, I had no doubt that this game would be run away. I said I thought the score would be 27-10. And it was 30 to what?
It just snowballed. Like, once the Jets fall behind, it gets bad.
What do you think about Saints at Green Bay? If Jones and Watson are still out too.
The Saints defense. I mean, I know a lot of people are not sold on Bryce Young, and I'm not saying that I am, but like, the Saints defense is no joke. He was getting pressure from all over the place last night. Last
one, because you said you had respect for them earlier. What about Panthers against the Seahawks?
Yeah, I will, but I'm giving respect out to everyone. Geno Smith is unbelievable. I mean, he has really, really done a good job.
It's so funny that how everyone just assumed after 1 week that they were done. Yeah. And they were crowning Detroit. You should have seen the comments I got in the picks video I did saying that I was taking the 5.5 for Seattle.
Yeah, those people. I had a lot of people. That's the perfect way to end the show. I don't know what people were so mad about the push. Like, I gave out Carolina yesterday. Everyone's like, I told you. It's like, told me what? They push. Let's not get crazy.
Yo, is that not the best where people are like, I told you it was a bad play when literally the same result. I had somebody comment on my Monday night video yesterday. They're like, how do you have all of these bets and get them all wrong? I was like, well, we won the Pickens over. We won Pittsburgh money line at plus money. We pushed on the Saints. Well, I lost Mingo under 2.5 receptions, and that was all garbage time, which sucked, but we'll take it. And then my other prop was Nick Chubb over 17.5 rushing attempts. He had 10 in the first half and blew his knee out. And like, how do you get everything wrong? What are you talking about, dude? We won 2, we pushed 1, we lost 1, and then the other we lost because it was an injury. I mean, ridiculous, but I don't, it doesn't bother. I find them funny. I woke up this morning.
It doesn't bother me either as my blood pressure rises to extreme levels.
Appreciate you guys hanging out as always. Ben and I are going to go record this single entry 3-max contest. Going to have some fun with this. Strategy show, podcast exclusive. It's an extended version of the strategy show every Tuesday. Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever it is you want to listen. Come join us. That'll be up probably an hour from now. So listen today, listen tonight on your drive home from work, listen tomorrow, whenever. Appreciate you guys hanging out as always. Follow Ben at JazzRaz DFS, me at Loughran _D, LOUGHY _D, and shout out to Jordan Klein as always for producing this one. We'll catch you back here tomorrow. Ownership, top stacks look, Neil Orfield and myself right here at 11 o'clock on the Strategy Show. Peace.